Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of Fundraising BIDness Talk. I'm Patrick Cyber. I'm the owner and lead auctioneer for G Events based in Beaverton, Oregon, and we're so excited to gather with you today as we do every Wednesday right here at noon on the West Coast and chat about current affairs and current events, best practices happening in the fundraising auction business. So great to have you here with us. Please, hey, if you're in the audience live with us today, type in your name, say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. Always enjoy seeing who's joining us. And also, throughout the program, feel comfortable in just if I say something, you've got a question, whether it's about the topic we're talking about currently or something that's on your mind, feel free to drop a question in the comment box and I will be happy to address it while we're right here on the line. So looky here, our old buddy Casey Woggy. Looky there, Casey and I served together on the Campbell course and the First Tee of Greater Portland board. Casey is a longtime friend from the media world and doing some great things. And I see Bennett is headed to the next level in her junior wing team out there at Columbia Edgewater. So Casey, hello. And be sure to tell Darcy hello also and all our friends over there at St. Rose. Let's dive right into our topic today. What we want to chat about today, folks, is I wanted to give you a model, just one model that we have contemplated and we've actually done, come to think of it, with respect to the new hybrid environment. And I think it's appropriate today, primarily because look at there, another old buddy of ours, Steve Hall, auctioneer out of Idaho. Steve and I go way back to our Albertsons Boise Open days when he was our volunteer chairman on a couple of different things and doing great stuff for us and helping us out with audio visual equipment. Steve, big DU guy, and also went to Worldwide College of Auctioneering. Steve, it's great to have you tune in today. Great to see you, and hope all is well in Idaho. So anyhow, I think this topic's appropriate today because I just watched a few minutes ago as the governor of our state of Oregon, Miss Kate Brown, just instituted a statewide mandate for wearing masks indoors. And I'm not really interested in saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent, or any political views on any of that stuff. I'm more interested today in how that impacts our world of fundraising auctions. We're only, I think I have my first fall event in less than 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's a gathering event. And so, and then we roll into quite a few events this fall. And I have to say, I've had mixed reactions from our clients with respect to they want to stay with virtual only. And those people are all smiling, saying, hey, we made the right decision. We don't really care what the governor says because they're 100% virtual anyway. And then I have other clients who are 100% we're gathering. And they're trying to figure out if masks fit with their theme. But more importantly, it's also concerning because as much as the organizers might want to do an event one way or the other, we have to take into account the concerns of our audience, right? And those are the folks that are going to help us raise money. So we got to be ultra sensitive to what our audience wants to do. Are they going to be comfortable coming together, whether it's wearing a mask, not wearing a mask? Are we going to? Is this the first step and more? I think the theme here, folks, is that we don't know, right? And so, as event organizers and fundraisers, I think it's only prudent that we have different models in mind. And one of the models that I'm really very excited about and I think fits this in a challenging time, if you will, would be the hybrid model. And you've heard me talk a little bit about it before. Create a virtual event to start with, and then add an audience as society allows. And so I'm going to just dive right into it. This model that I'm going to share with you today is a model that we've actually used. We used for the YWCA earlier this year, and it was a raging success. Their event did extremely well with this model, and that's fantastic. We are implementing it with a couple of other groups this fall. And so I thought I would share it with our listeners and our viewers out there, just to give you something to think about. And right, this is one model. The exciting part about this journey, right? And it's all about, it's a glass half full or half empty, right? It's how you want to interpret it. But one of the things that sticks out to me is that we have a clean canvas here, right? We're going into what I would consider uncharted waters in the fundraising event business. And so there's all sorts of ideas and all sorts of different ways to do it. So I wanted to share one way of doing it with our audience today, and give you some thoughts and feedback on it, and then let's go from there. Okay, so let's start out. This is just in an Excel spreadsheet. If this is something you're really interested in, you want to reach out to me, and we can possibly get you a copy of it. You can just you can reach out at geventsllc.com, and you'll see on there a way to send me an email, and just drop me a line and say, hey, how do I get a copy of that? You can also make an appointment, schedule a time for you and I to get together on a Zoom call. And so regardless of where you're at in the United States or how busy your schedule is, my schedule is available to you right there at geventsllc.com. And let's schedule a time and talk about your individual event, right? So here's the way I set this up. Format obviously is hybrid. We're going to incorporate a paddle raise. We're also going to incorporate some live auction elements into this event. And we're planning on live streaming. So the live stream length of this show is about an hour. And the total event time is going to be about 2 hours and 45 minutes, right? And that's obviously incredibly flexible. We're going to have 4 videos in this show, in this event, 4 different videos that we'll be incorporating. And then you'll also notice right up here at the top, I think I blew right by it, was our studio audience size. And I created this one just at 75 people. And I'm always going to encourage you to keep in mind, what is 75 people? I don't know what the magic number is, right? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 200? Is it 25, right? If it's the right 25 people, 25 could be plenty. When you think about a studio audience, I don't think it needs to be very big. The reason we want studio audience is really 2 reasons. First and foremost, we know that we have some folks that want to get back together, and that they're going to be more giving. They're going to be more philanthropic if they are able to get together. And so we want to have a gathering component that we can incorporate. We want to have a gathering component that we can incorporate into the event. And then second of all, and probably should be first, and the reason that we want a studio audience is because our number one goal is raising funds, right? And so I feel strongly that if we can show that energy in the room, if we can show paddles going in the air on a live stream, that we're going to generate more interest. We've done it in the past through the completely 100% virtual environment by acknowledging people who are donating or who have already donated. As you know, one of my key element of the formula to success in a virtual event has been pre-commitments of financial gifts, so that we can acknowledge those people, because people want to be in the in crowd. And so if we can get those folks watching the broadcast from their home and get them excited, they see recognizable names, it recreates that environment that we had in a gathering event when we're doing that paddle raise or we're doing that live auction item, and people can see others are supporting that cause, right? So that studio audience, always think about whatever your venue will allow, both from regulations and mandates, but also think about that if it's a couple, right? If it's a pair of people for each invitation, that we always do the math in our head, and I always want to know how many different pocketbooks are in the room. And when I usually think of a group that everybody comes in pairs, they usually share a pocketbook. And so 75 people might really be roughly 35 to 40 wallets or pocketbooks in the room. So keep that in mind, right? So always think about, we're doing this for one reason, and that's to raise funds, right? So here we go. Let's dive in. I picture this event starting, and one of the things I really am excited about is when we reduce the number of people in attendance, it vastly opens the door to so many new venues that we couldn't have our traditional gathering event in. And what I mean by that is, if you used to have an event that had 400 or 500 people, I don't care what market you are in, there is a limited number of facilities that can accommodate 400 or 500 people. And whether it's New York City or Portland, Oregon, or Bend, Oregon, right? It's all relative. It definitely limits the number of venues that you can use for your event. And when you think about, now we're trying to try to incorporate 50, 100. Now all of a sudden, the canvas once again becomes clear, and we can open up a lot more different venues. And so that allows you to have some unique environments that are really conducive to doing these types of events. So in this model that I'm showing with you today, I show the doors opening for the reception at 5:30. We're going to have wine tasting at this one. So we're going to have different wine tasting stations, and people can walk around with their mask on, or with their, however, whatever the current rules are, and they can taste wine and kind of have a little bit of social time. Now, you'll notice that I do not have in here anything about a silent auction, and that is not a mistake. What I would encourage you to do is have an online auction. So what was traditionally your silent auction, you're going to move that online. You're going to have the window of time open for that online auction a full week, and it will culminate with this hybrid event at the end of that fundraising week. Okay. And because we're going to reach a group a lot bigger than the 75 people in the room, I see little reason in bringing those packages to the actual hybrid venue. Okay. It takes more time, it takes more space, it does a lot of things. And chances are good that not 100% of your buyers are going to be in the room, right? And so now all of a sudden, you've got a situation where you brought it there, you picked it up, and you took it back to your office or to wherever you're storing it, right? So I don't really reference the online auction, but I think it is a crucial element of this type of an event. Okay, so we have a little social hour, roughly 45 minutes, as you can see here, roughly 45 minutes, and then we do a call to seating. And this would be dictated by the two different spaces. I like to see two different spaces. I would like to have a reception in one space, and then create what's called a studio, for lack of a better term, with the theater type seating. I'd rather have that type of an environment. That would be ideal to me. And because we've kept the guest outside of the studio area, we need room to transition them in. And in this example I'm using, I have a venue in mind, and they're right next door. There's no stairwells, there's no elevators. There's, it's on the same floor. It's literally through one door, and they're in the same space. And so I let this pretty short time, right? Because when I bring them in, I'm going to have them sit down, and I want our MC to welcome the studio audience. And I want them to explain to that studio audience the format of what's going to happen and some of the nuances of live television, right? And ask them to silence their cell phones and the traditional things. Make sure everybody has their bid paddle, and that they are enthusiastic and share with our audience on the live stream what a great environment this is, right? And then at 6:30, we're going to start our live stream. And when we do, I like to start with a sizzle reel. And I use the example of Carrie Underwood sings the opening song for Sunday Night Football. And everybody knows it doesn't matter where you are in the house, if that happens to be on the television and you hear that song, the party is starting, right? Sunday Night Football is happening. So I like that sizzle reel, something that highlights the venue or the cause, something that highlights the organization, and shows that, hey, here we go, the party is starting, the show is starting. and away we roll. And then open up with the MC. I think it's always important for them to start off with welcoming folks, explaining the agenda. Very crucial, acknowledge your sponsors. I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. I'm going to share you a little sponsorship grid as an example of how to incorporate some new benefits into this hybrid environment. So, but acknowledge those sponsors, always, always important. And then remind people how to participate. If they're watching the live stream and you are using a system, an auction software like Octria, which I highly recommend, it's not the only solution out there. It's my preferred solution just because of how easy it is to work with. And I think it's an incredible value for the price. And I think it is excellent for these environments in the new hybrid environment. But make sure that they're already at the website, the auction website, if they are watching you. So you don't need to really explain what website to go to. Start with, hey, click on this button or click on that button to make sure you're registered and how to bid, things of that nature. Okay. And then from there, I always like to roll right into an introduction of the executive director or maybe the board chair of the NPO, of the nonprofit organization. And there's a few components that I think are crucial for that person to share. First and foremost, I think that the majority of the people who attend your fundraising event have been before, right? And if they haven't, if they're brand new to your organization, this is going to be meaningful to them also. But I start with a warm and genuine thank you for your support in the past. Okay. And why do I say that? People appreciate it when you recognize that they have supported you in the past and that this is, they have been there for you, and you're telling them right from the get-go, we haven't forgot. We thank you for your incredible support in the past. And that's also important to the people who are new to your organization or new to this event, because they look at that and they go, wow, even though I'm new, I want to be in that group that gets thanked. And I think it's really cool that the organization acknowledges right from the get-go all the people that have allowed them to get to where they are today. So start off with a big thank you. And then the next thing I say is acknowledge your accomplishments in the last year resulting from the support you've received. If a year ago you were talking about, we need money to do this, we need to add this program, we need to add this staff, we can reach this many more people with this many dollars, whatever it is, share with people what you accomplished in the past, in the last year since they were together, right? And a year ago I would have said, or in 2020, I said it's okay to talk a little bit about the impact of COVID. And I think it's probably still somewhat appropriate. I just caution you to not get too caught up in the impact of COVID, because what I see is that everybody's got a story that's worse, right? We can all assume that COVID has been extremely challenging for most organizations, right? Nobody is standing up and saying, hey, COVID's been great for me. Okay. So when you start talking about it, now you get into comparisons. I would avoid that. You can acknowledge that, hey, COVID's been a challenge. Everybody agrees with that statement. But let me share with you what we accomplished regardless of COVID. We told you we were going to add this many benefits to our program. We were going to reach this many more people. And here's what we did. Okay? Because people want to know, a year ago I came to this event, I gave money, and now I want to know what they do with the money I gave them last year, right? So you're going to tell them that. You're going to thank them for their past support. Tell them what you did with the money. It proves you've been a good steward of their dollars. And then thirdly, tell them why you need money tonight, and tell them what your need is now and currently moving forward, and why we're gathering tonight. I think those are three elements that bring the group together. It gets everybody on the same page with what you want to accomplish in the event, and away you go. And then turn it back over to the MC. The MC can make some ad-lib comments about what she heard or he heard from the message from the board chair or the executive director, and then any connection maybe that MC has to your organization, or being able to see things, whatever is important to them. And then the next thing I would ask them to do is go ahead and introduce your benefit auctioneer or your fundraising host, however you tend to use that term in your event. I've seen, when we were gathering, it was like, hey, here's our auctioneer. And now in the virtual world, some folks are using the term fundraising host, something like that. But you bring them in with the intent that, hey, here to help us accomplish the goals that we just heard from our executive director or our board chair is our fundraising host and benefit auctioneer for tonight, blah, 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 right? And away we go. And they can just, I have my own name in here, obviously, because this is what I do, but ad lib and then roll into your appeal video, right? And I think we all know what an appeal video is. We all have different names for them. Very important to roll into that appeal video right then. I got to acknowledge this comment right here because this is a good one from our good friend Lori Hockman at Octria. She's down in Boca Raton. I believe she's in Boca today, tuning in. Yes, transparency as it relates to the fund shows you a trustworthy caretaker of the funds. Absolutely, Lori. As I said, you've been a good steward of the funds that they have provided you. And that's so important, I think, in communicating. I'm glad to hear you agree. And Lori, thanks for all your work that you do for nonprofits and helping them reach their fundraising goals through you and Rob and the team at Octria just do an outstanding job. So thank you for tuning in today. And then roll into that appeal video. And what I really want there is I want to, this isn't a touchy-feely moment, right? I see so many times, I see folks, especially in the school environment, our goal is to put every child on the video. Well, no, that's not really what we're looking to do. what the goal of that video is, when you watch that video, you've got to be able to ask yourself, does it make me want to go in my wallet? Does it make me want to reach in my pocket and reach for my hard-earned dollars and share them with that nonprofit? If it doesn't, then scratch it and keep working, right? But in a perfect world, that appeal video will dictate and share why your organization needs the support of the people tonight. This isn't a time to honor Volunteer of the Year. It isn't to tell about your one success story or to feature just one success story, right? I see a lot of times a nonprofit might focus on a single success story and everybody falls in love with that person. It doesn't make me want to go in my wallet unless you tie it back into how many more individuals like this are in our community that we could help, and we can only help them with your support. Okay, so there's a way to weave that in, but regardless, please make your number one goal in that appeal video to say, how do I get people to open their wallets? What is going to motivate them to get in that pocketbook and support my nonprofit organization? And then it rolls right into at that point, it'll roll right into the appeal. And this is where when you have a quality benefit auctioneer, member of the National Association is always one of your good ways to determine one of the criteria that you want to use if they're a member of their national association, if they have a BAS, which is a benefit auction specialist accreditation that comes from the National Auctioneers Association as a result of extensive study and writing of I don't know what you call it, a special paper and analysis of some events. It's something that less than 5% of the auctioneers in the United States have. But I encourage you, those are the folks that are really committed to helping your nonprofit raise money. Okay, so we roll right into asking for the gifts. And when we do that, we explain the giving process, both for in the room and for those folks joining us online. Okay, and we're going to acknowledge any advance gifts that we have received, those pre-commits that I talked earlier about. And then we're going to ask for certain levels of dollars we're going to go through. I would say in this environment, you could do 4 to 5 levels. If it was a strict virtual event, I'd do 3 groups of levels. In other words, what I mean by that is a group of a level might be all gifts at $1,000 and higher, gifts of $250 and higher, and then gifts of any amount up to $250, right? That would be grouping my gifts. If I was doing a pure straight gathering event, we would ask for a specific number because our bid paddles are going to go up in the air, and we only know to assign a donation of a certain amount to that bid paddle, right? So when I ask for, if you're in a position to make a gift tonight of $1,000, please raise your bid card and be acknowledged, right? And then I'll go, hey, bidder number 123, thank you. Bidder number 667, thank you. Bidder 148, thank you for your generous gift. Those are all at a set number of $1,000. So we want to be able to have both worlds when we put this hybrid together. So I do have to go by individual levels. I'm always going to remind my online donors that they can make a gift of that amount that I'm asking for, or I always make sure that they have a create your own custom amount type of gift. Okay. And then what will be important during this time is to have a monitor available to your benefit auctioneer so that they can see the incoming gifts that are coming in online, and they need to acknowledge those. So you'll see in here, right, I talk about acknowledging the advance gifts at a certain amount and above, ask for donations of a certain amount, and then I acknowledge both the in-room gifts and online gifts, right? That's how we're going to make these folks all feel like they're part of the same event, is that we're going to acknowledge, hey, I want to thank Joni from online making a gift of $1,000, and bidder number 123, thank you for your gift here in the room of $1,000. And so we roll through that whole process. We're going to do 5 levels, and then we're going to roll into our live auction. And here is where I'm a huge fan of folks being able to bid in the room and also bid online. Now, I know that is confusing, and there are some limitations, okay? And I have some concerns open. My first concern starts with your software, okay? If the auction software that you're using is not set up for you to be able to see the bids as an auctioneer, if your auctioneer cannot see the bids in real time, if you have to keep hitting refresh to see the current bids, if there's a long delay in those bids showing up in the software, that's a problem, and eliminate the online bidding for your live packages while you're doing those live packages only in the room. Now, if you're using a software like Octria, I've done it. I have zero concerns of seeing bids that are placed online and being able to see them in a venue and have competitive bidding going on in the room. And it's quite exciting. And folks, you've heard me say it 100 times. We've been doing simulcast auctions in other areas of the auction business: personal property, estate sales, business liquidation, automobiles, farm equipment, even real estate. We've been doing. I was involved in a simulcast auction here a few weeks ago for a piece of real estate, where we have bidders both in the room and online, and it's incredibly powerful. Remember, every bid raises more money for your organization. So with that being said, this is broken down for 5 live auction items. It takes about a minute for the MC to introduce the package, and then the first thing that I'm going to do as the auctioneer, because people have been bidding online in advance, right? If they follow my traditional model, then I'm going to announce where our current bid is and who it's with, and then I will start selling both in the room and to our online audience, and away we go, right? And then that'll take about 3 minutes per item, and a minute for the MC to introduce the package, and away we go. I've got room to do 5 of those, and then we're going to roll into wrapping up the live auction. And you can see that we are at about 55 minutes at that point. We're going to turn around. We're going to thank our sponsors. We're going to thank our committee. We're going to thank our AV technicians. We're going to thank our auction software company. We're going to thank the board of directors, and we're going to thank our donors, right? And if I've left somebody out in your group, don't hesitate, add them to that list. But right, you can't say thank you enough. And I left donors as the last there because those are the people that I want to take the most time to thank. And so it gives me that time at the end of the show. And then from there, cut to a closing video. And, you know, there's all sorts of compelling themes there in that compelling video. Different than your appeal video, Different than that video at the very front where we had the sizzle video, right? Uh, the closing video is that emotional video where we say thank you. And if your organization has a bunch of youth that are benefiting, I encourage you, even if they're youth, it doesn't matter, whoever's benefiting, I put together a montage. It doesn't need to be more than, I've got a minute 30 on this one, but it could be 30 seconds of those beneficiaries saying thank you, right? Hey, thank you for your support tonight. And it goes through a bunch of different folks. And I would tell you, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to produce these videos. Let the video match your budget. If it's done on cell phones and then it's weaved together using iMovie or PowerPoint or whatever you're using, or have it professionally executed, whatever your budget allows. But I can't stress enough, having a little quick closing video where everybody gets to say thank you is really cool. And then for our guest in the room, we're going to go back to that reception area, and it's almost a celebratory after party, right? And I kind of put in here just a champagne toast and maybe some a dessert buffet if buffets are allowed, or maybe there's a little mini desserts or something, whatever works. You could also, if you wanted to, it's only 7:30, right? In this run of show, we could turn around and sit them down in that reception area at Rounds and feed them dinner. It's all about what you want to do. I think if you do the math though, and you look at the formula that we've created here, we gave them drinks for an hour, right, on the front end, and we gave them some appetizers, and then we're going to close it down with a little champagne toast. We're not wide opening the bar, okay? We're doing a champagne toast. We're going to toast and celebrate the success that we had in this special event, this hybrid event, and some little desserts, little something sweet to everybody to get home. And then let that online auction, you can see the last point there, let that online auction begin to close. And as you know, I'm a huge advocate of a soft close, which means that you're using the anti-sniping software in the auction software, which will, if an item receives a bid within a certain window of time prior to its scheduled closing, that it will extend that closing time an additional X number of minutes that you determine, right? It can be called bid extension or whatever. What that does is it allows people to bid until they're finished bidding. And that, folks, is an auction. Remember, it does not matter where you start, it's where you finish. I get a little frustrated with a timed close that's a hard time close where there's no opportunity for a bid extension, because if we have people that still want to bid, we should let them bid. That by definition is an auction. Okay. And then the last thing I want to chat with you real quick, I put together this little simple grid. I know you're going to have to blow it up on your screen. Maybe I can blow it up a little bit more here for you. But here's an example. This is really straightforward. Sponsorship, this would be the names. These are just random names, right? It was a wine-oriented event. And then here's the investment. Obviously, $5 signs is more higher price than a $1 sign. And then the quantity kind of gave me a feel for what the inventory of the event was. And then what I did was I listed all my benefits here on the left, and then I put marks as to whether that level of sponsorship got that benefit. And then down here, right, and I might as well just make it yellow right now, is guest invitations to be a part of the live stream audio or studio audience, right? And then I made here each invitation is good for 2 guests, okay? So if you're the title sponsor, you get to invite 6 couples to the be a part of the studio audience, 4 couples, 3 couples, 2 couples, okay? And then there's some additional, anyhow, look at this at your convenience. But what you'll see here is I think there's a lot of value. One of the things I really like about our move to virtual is that I think it really expanded our opportunity to provide value to our sponsors, whether it's through the auction website that now people are going to not just to buy their tickets, but now to bid, okay? And so we can put their logo on there and we can incorporate it in different elements. And we've just increased, I think, in our, and because we promote the events now through our social media outlets. We can do things to acknowledge sponsors throughout the window of time that we're working on the event. It's an incredible opportunity. I think it's so much more value for our sponsors than the traditional gathering event. And then I would also say, lastly and probably mostly, is that we can repurpose the video and we can repurpose the elements of the event that we use to showcase their organizations. And they live on way past that night of the hybrid environment. So just fun stuff for you. And hopefully you feel good about, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment box, and I would be happy to answer them at this point. And I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. I want to remind everybody on a couple of things before we wrap up today. That Fundraising BIDness Talk is live Wednesdays at noon right here. And if you missed an episode, you want to check them out, you can always go to Vimeo channels, Fundraising BIDness Talk, and you can see all 29 episodes, right? So, and as we finish up today, as I said a moment ago, it does not matter where you start your bidding. It's all about where you finish. Folks, I appreciate you joining me today. Reach out anytime, geventsllc.com. Drop me a line. Let me know your questions. Schedule yourself a time to visit, and let's talk about your event and what we can do, give you some insight. Whether we can actually produce it or not, I don't know. The calendar is filling up, but the opportunity just to visit about your event and share with you what we're finding and what's working, we'd love to do that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great day.